I'm going back to my ex, my wife said after 14 years. The words hit me like a fist to the gut, each syllable a shard of glass grinding into my chest. I'm going back to my ex, Sarah said, her voice steady but her eyes darting to the floor, unable to hold my gaze. The kitchen, our kitchen, where we'd laughed over burnt toast and argued about whose turn it was to load the dishwasher, felt alien now, the air thick with her confession. 14 years of marriage, 2 kids, a mortgage, and those quiet nights when we'd sit on the couch, her feet in my lap, planning a future that now seemed like a cruel mirage. I never really loved you, she added, softer, as if it could soften the blow. I just nodded, my throat too tight to speak, my mind screaming questions I wasn't ready to ask. The clock on the wall ticked louder than it ever had, each second carving into the silence that followed her words. The scent of her lavender shampoo lingered, mixing with the faint bitterness of the coffee I'd brewed an hour ago, back when the day felt normal. I stared at the countertop, at the faint scratch from when our son, Ethan, had dragged his toy truck across it years ago. That mark was permanent, like the life we'd built. Or so I thought. My hands trembled, but I shoved them into my pockets, afraid she'd see how deeply she'd cut me. Why now? I finally managed, my voice hoarse like I'd been shouting for hours. Sarah shifted, her fingers twisting the hem of her sweater, a nervous habit I'd once found endearing. I saw him last month, she said, her words careful, measured. At the conference in Chicago. It wasn't planned, I swear. But, being around him again, it reminded me of who I used to be. Her eyes flickered with something, guilt, maybe, or defiance. I couldn't tell. My mind raced back to that trip, how she'd come home quieter than usual, her smiles forced, her phone always face down on the nightstand. I'd chalked it up to exhaustion, to the stress of her job. I'd been a fool. The living room light spilled through the doorway, casting long shadows across the linoleum. I remember the first time she'd mentioned her ex, Tom, years ago, a fleeting story about college, a fleeting laugh. He was a ghost from her past, nothing more. Or so she let me believe. What does that even mean, Sarah? I asked, my voice sharper now, anger clawing its way through the numbness. Who you used to be? What about who we are? What about Ethan and Lily? Her lips parted, but no words came. The silence was worse than anything she could have said. I turned away, staring out the window at the backyard where the kids' swing set rusted under the weight of neglect. The grass was overgrown, a reminder of the weekends I'd spent working late instead of tending to our life. Had I missed something? A glance, a sigh, a moment when she'd started slipping away? My mind replayed the last few months. Her late nights at the office, the way she'd linger in the bathroom with her phone, the sudden need for space. I'd rationalized it all, told myself it was just a phase, a midlife crisis, anything but this. Was it just Chicago? I asked, turning back to her. My voice was low, but it trembled with the weight of what I was really asking. Her hesitation was answer enough. She swallowed, her eyes glistening, but she didn't cry. Not yet. No, she whispered. It's been a few months. Text calls. I didn't mean for it to happen, Mark. It just did. Each word was a fresh wound, but her honesty, brutal, unfiltered, made it worse. I wanted her to lie, to take it back, to say it was a mistake. But she didn't. The room felt smaller, the walls closing in as my heartbeat thundered in my ears. I thought of the kids upstairs, asleep, oblivious to the unraveling of their world. I thought of the photos on the mantel. Our wedding, Ethan's first steps, Lily's gap-toothed grin. Had it all been a lie? You never loved me. I repeated, testing the words, tasting their bitterness. 14 years, and it was all what? Obligation? Pity. My voice cracked, and I hated myself for it. Sarah stepped closer, her hand reaching out, but stopping short. It wasn't like that, she said, her voice breaking now. I cared about you. I still do. But Tom, he's part of me, Mark. A part one thought I could bury. I tried for you, for the kids. But I can't keep pretending. Her words were a plea, but they felt like a blade. Caring wasn't love. Caring was what you gave a stray dog, not a husband. I wanted to scream, to demand how she could do this, how she could dismantle everything we'd built. But my mind snagged on a memory, her laugh, bright and unguarded, at a party last summer. I caught her talking to someone on her phone. Her face lit up in a way I hadn't seen in years. I'd brushed it off, told myself it was work, a friend, anything but him. The signs had been there, and I'd ignored them, too afraid of what they might mean. What happens now? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. The question hung between us, heavy with the weight of our shared history. Sarah's eyes met mine, and for the first time, I saw the truth in them. Not just guilt, but resolve. "I'm leaving," she said. "I need to figure this out with him. I owe it to myself." The words were a final blow, but they weren't the worst part. The worst was the way she said myself, like I was a footnote in her story, a detour she regretted taking. I nodded again, because what else could I do? My chest ached, a hollow, gnawing pain that spread like wildfire. I thought of the kids, of the life we'd planned, of the man I'd been, devoted, flawed, but hers. And now I was nothing. The kitchen clock ticked on, indifferent to the wreckage. Outside, the wind stirred the trees, their branches scraping against the house like fingers clawing at a truth I couldn't escape. As Sarah turned to leave, her footsteps soft but deliberate, I caught a glimpse of her phone on the counter. The screen was still lit, a message glowing in the dim light. I told him, "I'm coming to you." My stomach lurched, and I realized the betrayal wasn't just hers. It was mine for believing in a love that had never been mine to keep. The door clicked shut behind her, and the silence swallowed me whole.